Tony Sanders, how you doing? David Ewing, how you doing? Thank you guys for joining. Hopefully we will actually make it through this video. This is my second time trying this today, and we have been stopped. Comcast hates comic books. That's my theory. My internet has been hit or miss for the last couple of hours. So fingers crossed that we can make some magic happen this time around. We shall see. So I'm actually going to be talking today about some $1 speculation books. I actually did a live chat recently and made a couple of jokes about a character from my childhood that, in my opinion, was a little bit of a joke that I remembered fondly from my childhood, that I went back and read again using Marvel Unlimited, and then realized that the character kind of sucked. And so I made a couple of comments about it, and somebody watched that video like most, and then someone sent me a couple of messages, which I thought was cool because I interact with a lot of people. I honestly can't even remember who it was at this point, but they were like, hey, so that character that you were making fun of, that book is going for almost $300 on eBay. So I actually jumped on eBay and looked up the sold prices, and sure enough, that book was going for almost $300. And in fact, there was one that was $350 for a 9.8. I could not believe it. So I was actually going through my collection over the last couple of days, kind of organizing things, because, you know, in the new house, I had my collection in one place finally, and so I was realizing that it wasn't in as good an order as I thought that it was in, and so I've tried to reorganize some things. I ordered a couple of more short boxes, so I'm gonna take another shot at it, but we're making progress. But while I was going through those boxes, I identified a couple of $1 books that if the wind blows in the right direction, it theoretically could spike in price. So let me get caught up here on the room. We've got Tony here. We've got David here. Never Stop Collecting. Never Stop Collecting. Thank you, brother. Thank you for the reminder. You are the inspiration for this video that we're going to talk about. So I appreciate you joining. JD, my man, how you doing? The internet works. Yes, the internet works. It has been so. Basically, I'm gonna catch you guys up. A couple more people have come in. I was making some jokes about a character who I remember fondly from my childhood. Went back and read the book and realized that it was such like a 90s book that outside of the 90s, you're kind of like, huh, this character's a joke. Come to find out, the book was selling at a 9.8 for $350. So I went through my collection, identified a couple of books that theoretically could also pop the same way. So the one that I'm talking about right now that Never Stop Collecting reminded me of is this one, Dark Hawk #1. And if you guys have not read Dark Hawk in a while or ever, you are not missing much. It is such a 90s book. But what I realized is that I actually own like Dark Hawk 2 through like, I don't know, 25 or 30, maybe even higher. I own a lot of these. I did not own the #1. So about 6 months ago, I went out and I bought the #1 for $3. And this thing is probably a 9.8 easy. It is in such pristine condition that it showed up, and I was kind of like, okay, cool, I got a Dark Hawk #1. I put it in a My Light and stuck it in a box, you know, and then come to find out this book is actually worth some cash. And I think the reason that it's actually worth something is because of the Infinity Countdown, I think it's called, Infinity Countdown or Infinity Wars Countdown or whatever it is. The Dark Hawk has actually been pulled into that story arc, and I think there's like a 3-point story arc or something like that involving Dark Hawk, and so because of that, this book has actually spiked in price. So I'm catching up here. Dark Hawk 50 was going for $50. Yeah, I think I owned quite a few of those. All right, catching up. Yeah. So it was interesting. What I really discovered is that This number one is actually not the first appearance of Darkhawk. I thought that it was. It's actually not. I think he appeared in Marvel Age number 98 or something like that. I think that's actually his first appearance. This actually isn't it. But I got hooked on Darkhawk probably because of his close ties to Spider-Man. I think it was issue number 3. Where Spider-Man and he actually appear on the cover. And then I remember going back getting number 2 because Spider-Man was on 3, and I never went back and got number 1 back in the day. So that's why I had to go pick it up outside. So JD is saying that is correct. So thank you. I think he was answering my question. So what's interesting, like I said, is that I went after I realized what was happening with Darkhawk. I was going through my collection. I'm like, okay, so what other 90s books could potentially spike in value, right? Because, part of it is you don't know, in my opinion, which books are going to pop. Like, who knew Darkhawk was going to have some value, right? And in this Darkhawk book, the whole series has been in my boxes since the 90s. And I remember it fondly, a lot more fondly than it actually reads, But I identified a couple of other books that I think could pop. So I want to show you what these books are. The next one. The next one is Sleepwalker. And it says here, first issue, collector's item, Marvel's newest superhero, evildoer's worst nightmare. That is Sleepwalker. So here's the thing with Sleepwalker. This is actually his first appearance, right? Unlike Darkhawk, where he appeared in another book, this is actually Sleepwalker's first actual appearance in this book. And I believe that the guys that are doing Infinity Countdown, I think it's called, involving Darkhawk, are next going to turn their attention to Sleepwalker. They are actually going to be putting him in a series, in a similar story arc. I think it's a 3-part coming out in October. So if things go the same way for Sleepwalker that they did for Darkhawk, you may see even more of a pop with this book, true first appearance. At the end of the day, who knows what's going to happen, right? It's all guesswork. JD is saying he can't believe it. He's shocked. Yes, it is true, brother. So Miss Hustle, yes, it is finally working. I finally worked it out after a couple of hours of reboots and calls to Xfinity. We finally got the internet working. So far we've gone through 2 books. We've gone through Darkhawk, which is currently selling somewhere between $275 and $350 on eBay, and we are now speculating about the wonderful Sleepwalker number 1 potentially having some value somewhere down the road. And I can promise you, this book is in dollar bins all across the country. In fact, I was on eBay earlier today, and there are a couple of people selling a Sleepwalker at, they think, 9.8s for like $3 or something like that. So I may actually pick it up myself. Gary Dugan, JD is saying Gary Dugan is the writer for, I guess it's the Infinity Countdown. So I have, is he the same guy that's doing this one, JD? Where is it? It's live when I don't have my stuff already pulled out. Is it the same guy that's doing this one? Yep, same guy. Infinity Wars is Dugan. He's the writer on this one, and I guess he has a story arc, like I said, with Darkhawk and one coming up with Sleepwalker, I think in October. So again, yeah, those are definitely some hidden finds. So another book that I pulled out of my short boxes from my childhood is this one right here. This is so back in the day, as you guys know, if you've been following me, you know that I'm a huge mutant fan, right? So anything that had an X in the title for me back in the 90s was something I bought. X Factor, X-Men, it didn't matter. And so when Exterminators came out, I of course had to pick this up. This is Exterminators number 1. This is a team of X Factor. I can't remember all the relationships. At one point, I was debating doing a video where I talked about the fallen angels exterminating those teams, because I believe that it's like, it's like the league or something like that before they come up to the majors, right? So this is one that I picked up back in the day, Exterminators. And I think there's people in this like Richter and Boom Boom. I can't remember all the other characters. And as I stand here and look at the cover, I honestly can't even remember the story on this one, to be honest with you. So, but you never know. You never know what can happen with this one. So another one that kind of popped into my head, I probably have a box of these, right? I probably have 6 or 7 along with the full series. Rob Liefeld's Youngblood, the next generation of superheroes, first exciting issue, right? So why do I think this one could potentially result in something? Rob Liefeld signed a 7-figure deal with, I think, Netflix. She did a video on long ago where I talked about him and the deal. He has basically licensed his entire universe, the Rob Liefeld universe, in a 7-figure deal. And so my thought is that some of these characters that Rob created while he was at Image could theoretically in some kind of Netflix TV show. It's my understanding, and maybe you guys know a lot better than I do, that and I've heard rumors of this, that Disney is going to start pulling some of its TV shows and movies from Netflix as it sets up its own streaming service. And you guys know the Netflix TV shows are incredible, right? I'm actually in the middle watching of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is incredible. I think Disney's going to start pulling these TV shows from Netflix and start putting them on their own streaming service. With the popular superhero TV shows, that has to be backfilled by something. Why not some of Rob Liefeld's characters? Multiple copies of 0, multiple copies of 1, all the way through some crazy number. But out several of his other titles at Image, like Rip Claw, and some I can't hear it. She picked up several ago. So if you guys haven't seen that video, check that video out, because I think some of the I picked up that could be made into TV shows. So let me get caught up. Prowler is here, 6 and 1. Never Stop Collecting is talking about Ghost Rider. Yeah, so Never Stop Collecting. I actually started to pull that one out. I actually did a video on that one, and I called it Undervalued Morbius Related Books. And so in that video, I highlight 6-part story arc known as the Midnight Suns, which includes Ghost Rider, Blade, and whoever else was part of Midnight Suns. It's actually in one of these boxes somewhere here. You know it's live TV when it's just a catastrophe. It is definitely a catastrophe. All right, so we'll keep going here. So the next book that kind of popped into my mind as I was sorting through books was this one, The New Warriors. I was a huge fan of this one back in the day. The New Warriors, I'm not even quite sure why it captured my attention, but I have a pretty long run of this book as well. I actually have several of these actually signed. I can't remember who the artist was on this one, but I have several of these signed in my collection. This one, these are the heroes for the 90s, right? So you know it must be official when it makes that declaration. So this one is Namorita, who I'm guessing is somehow related to Namor. Firestar from back in the day. You guys remember that from the cartoon. Kid Nova, who I'm guessing is related to Nova. Speedball, who I am a fan of. I do like some good Speedball. Marvel Boy, and then Night Thrasher. And Night Thrasher actually got a little attention recently, I think because I can't remember why, but I think he was in, it was either I think it was Web of Spider-Man. For whatever reason, the book that he first appeared in actually popped for some reason or another. So I pulled this one out, number one. I think there was a second print that I also have that it might be gold or something like that. And then I also have the Night Thrasher number one in the box. So I was definitely a big fan of this title back in the day. But again, this is another one. Why could it not? Why could something not happen with this one? Why could these characters not appear somewhere for some reason or another? So Speedball was a pretty cool comic. Yeah, definitely. Namorita was his wife. Thank you. There we go. So yeah, so it's just, I thought this was a really cool one back in the day. I have a very long run of this one. So the next one is Thor 411 is his first appearance. Whose first appearance? JD is saying Thor 411. Is that the one with the Juggernaut? I think it's like Thor's hammer and some words are written on there, because I think I have that one. New Warrior's first appearance. Okay, I actually don't have mini Thor books, but I think I do have 411. I think I do have that one, which is very surprising that I would actually have a Thor key, if you will, minor key. So the next one is an interesting one. That why couldn't it happen, right? This one, Cable number one. This is a limited series. I think there's two. This is what, one of two. I think it's one of two. This one is actually drawn by JR. So this is his first one. I think I also have third and maybe the second run for him. But this is when patches and shoulder pads were really cool, kind of following right in line with some of that action right there. And so again, with Cable's appearance in Deadpool number 2, there is the theory, the belief that he may get his own solo movie, and of course that has to come from somewhere, and it may be pulled from here. More than likely, my belief is that it's probably going to be pulled from like the Cable and Deadpool series, because that was, I think, a pretty popular series, and the banter back and forth and the relationship between those two may play a little bit better than just Cable and his time traveling techno virus wheel on the big screen. So again, those are just a couple of books that I had in my collection that I pulled out. I could have easily pulled another, 6 or 7, like Cloak and Dagger. I don't know if you guys remember Cloak and Dagger, the TV show, of course, but there was also the Misadventures of Cloak and Dagger series that I have a long run of. I mean, you can go on and on, right? Shadowhawk. I mean, you can run down the list of all of these wonderful theoretical, characters that were created back in the 90s that for some reason or another could pop up in another series or a TV show or a movie. I guess my point is, to my understanding, there's really no rhyme or reason why some of these books suddenly pop or not. I think it's, some writer may have, or some artist for that matter, may have some memories from their own childhood that they like to reflect upon. They may have drawn some of these characters back in the day and want to bring them back for the sake of nostalgia. It could be a thing of, here's a piece of property that hasn't been touched in a long time, so let's play with it, let's reimagine it. And so I think I saw recently that even like Darkhawk, his medallion isn't in the middle of his chest, it's kind of like off to the side. And again, it's just people reinterpreting some of this great artwork and these great characters and bringing them to life again. So Kid Nova is the original Richard Rider. All right. Trying to get caught up here. Don't forget to drop Reggie a like to show him some support. Yeah, thank you, Miss Hustle. I appreciate that. John Romita Jr. Yeah, he drew this one. I didn't know it either until I looked down here at the bottom and actually saw his JR down at the bottom there. So very interesting that he did draw Cable. I'm not sure that it's his best work, to be honest with you. Actually, when I was pulling through this box, I actually saw the Cage series. I think that one came polybagged. I think I have a polybag version and a signed version of Cage. I guess it's Luke Cage. I don't even remember reading the book back in the day, to be honest with you. So All right, so I guess maybe the feed was a little off there for a while. So, but yeah, so those are just a couple of books that I kind of ran through. I mean, I don't know what you guys think, but I have not been able to really identify a discernible pattern as to why some of these books, become hot. And I mean, again, who knew that Dark Hawk would suddenly go from being a dollar book, a 50-cent book, to being something that people would pay $350 for at a 9.8. Who knew that was going to happen? And like I said, theoretically, it could also happen to a title like this. Only time will tell. But I've really been able to, I really have not been able to put my finger on a reason why these books pop, other than it's somebody's dream to draw this character or that character, or they want to try something new with a piece of property that hasn't been touched in a long time. So who knows? But anyway, I want to thank you guys for taking the time to join me. Certainly, if you have thoughts about other characters that you think could, or other books that could potentially be spec titles for the future, be sure to leave those comments. I think we talked about Blood Strike potentially happening, Brigade. I mean, there's Supreme. I mean, there's a lot of great properties from Image that could happen. And then I think there's also a lot from Valiant that we may actually see in the future as well. I think Valiant just struck a movie deal with someone. I can't remember which studio house, but there's a chance for us to start seeing some Valiant titles out there as well. And I think I have a whole box of Valiant the same way I have a whole box of Image, that theoretically something down the road. So only time will tell.